Fascinating question. Is Mike Pence a Christian? For that matter, are Jerry Falwell Jr. and Franklin Graham Christians? We had quite a conversation about this. Check it out. And don't forget to ding the bell, leave your comments, and subscribe. But I don't know if you heard Pete Buttigieg, things that I thought was, really important in his speech is that he's reclaiming Christianity. Among other things. I mean, he's reclaiming a lot of stuff, but this is, I think, one of the most important. And it wasn't just in his speech. I mean, he's been in this little feud here with Mike Pence for about a week now. And I'm like, hey, about time. Jesus was a liberal. And the efforts, I mean, not just a liberal. He was not just a socialist. He was a communist. He was as left as you can get, right? The purse was held communally. One guy held it, Judas, but his job was to take everybody's stuff and pool it together and, buy things that everybody needed from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. It's like, Jesus was the original Marxist. But we don't need to, go quite that far. I mean, we could just point out that, in Matthew 25, Jesus said basically, this is the one time in the Bible where the disciples came to him and said, how do we get into heaven? And he said, feed the hungry, heal the sick, welcome the stranger. I'm not seeing this happening in Mike Pence's world, right? And Pete Buttigieg is like pointing that out. Here's the problem, and this is a real problem for the Republican Party, and it has been for the better part of 40 or 50 years, is they literally have nothing to run on. They have literally no, quote, ideas. Paul Ryan was supposed to be the smartest guy in town. He lifted weights and he was really brilliant, good with numbers. What were his ideas? Oh, that's right. Cut taxes by 1.5 trillion, 1.9 actually trillion dollars. Borrow that money from our grandchildren and give it to rich people. That worked out real well. Meanwhile, truckers are getting screwed. We'll talk about that in the next hour. But basically, I mean, this is it. And the American people have figured out that the GOP tax scam was just that. It was a tax scam. So the question, I guess, for the hour is Mike Pence a Christian? How for that matter, is Billy Graham Jr., or Franklin Graham, excuse me, a Christian? Is Jerry Falwell Jr. a Christian? I look at their behavior. By their works they shall be known, remember? I look at that behavior and I have to say, well, one of the things about being a Christian is not judging other people, but that said, I can't categorically say that they're not Christians, but I can say that it sure doesn't look like they're followers of Jesus, at least, in that behavior, which raises like some interesting issues about all kinds of stuff, frankly. The religion in the public square. We've got there's this right-wing movement, this Project Blitz that's going on right now, as we speak, where fundamentalist Christians have come up with these twin lies, these two lies, that they are literally putting into legislation in state after state after state. The most recent was Texas's Senate Bill 17, anti-gay legislation. It basically says not just stores can discriminate, but anybody who has a license, a pharmacist, a doctor, a lawyer, anybody with a license can discriminate against gay people or anybody on that spectrum, anybody who's not just totally, cisgendered, if they hold, quote, a sincerely held religious belief. Get that? The two lies that these guys are promoting are, number one, and they're using David Talbot to do this, who's a guy who literally makes up quotes from people like Thomas Jefferson to say that America is a Christian nation. He's a hustler, a phony baloney hustler. He used to be on the Glenn Beck show all the time. Totally discredited. The first lie is that America was founded in Christianity, that America is a Christian nation. That is an egregious lie. And then the second lie is that the foundational core concept of Christianity is bigotry, is discriminating against people, is hating people. Hating people because of their sexuality, hating people because of their gender, hating people because of their gender identity, hating people because of their religion. And this is all these guys have, right? This is all the Republican Party has. This is why a video of Ilhan Omar and 9/11 is pinned at the top of Donald Trump's Twitter feed. Because all they have is bigotry, and they're calling it Christianity. And they're running on this. Mike Pence is running on this. USA Today published a story on April 3rd titled Copy Paste Legislate. And what they did is they looked from the period of 2010 to 2018. They looked at 10,000 pieces of legislation that were introduced in every single state. This 2-year joint investigation between the Center for Public Integrity and the Arizona Republic newspapers. And what they found was that 4,300 of those 10,000 bills were actually written by corporations. And another 4,012 of them were written by conservative groups, and most of the conservative groups were religious, or at least claimed religion in order to get a tax exemption. But really, they were bigot laws. They were laws that sought to minimize the rights and privileges in our society of people that the Christians don't like. Rachel Lacer, the president of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, told Salon, Project Blitz. This is this thing that all these right-wing millionaires, Jerry Falwell Jr. and Franklin Graham and all these other guys. I don't know specifically if those two are involved. I'd be astonished if they weren't. But it's this major multi-state project to put religion into our law. One of the pieces is having religion, having the Christian history of America taught in our elementary schools. All right, we're going to teach lies in our schools. And then institutionalizing laws that allow pharmacists to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't fill your prescription for birth control pills. It violates my religion. Or doctors saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't treat you, your broken leg, because you're gay, and that violates my religion. It's bigotry. And they're calling this Christianity. And it's not Christianity, at least as I know it. I mean, can you figure out any way to rationalize this? I mean, who would Jesus discriminate against? Right? To the best of my knowledge, the only people in his life he ever got pissed off at were the money changers in the temple, the businessmen who were trying to make money off religion, the people who were hustling, little animals to sacrifice in exchange for cash. I mean, they were like the televangelists of their day. It was the Pat Robertsons that Jesus was seriously PO'd with. And then you look at this story, the plot against America inside the Christian rights program to remodel America. Clarkson tells Salon, the authors of the Project Blitz playbook are the savvy purveyors of dominionism, which is chillingly akin to A Handmaid's Tale. They live in an imminent theocratic vision. In other words, they believe that the country needs to be run by God. But because God doesn't just show up on television, they're the ones who are going to tell us what God wants. The first tier of Project Blitz is to import the Christian nationalist worldview into public schools. The second tier aims to make government increasingly a partner in Christianizing America. And the third tier contains these specific proposed laws to, quote, protect religious beliefs and practices that really are just pro-bigotry laws. In fact, they say specifically to denigrate the LGBTQ community and to defend and advance the right to discriminate. Period. Very straightforward. And they've come up with this set of lies, this whole false narrative With that false identity in place, Christian nationalists rationalize the freedom to discriminate as a fundamental right. This, for example, is from this law in Texas that I was telling you about, Section 2. Marriage should be recognized as a union of one man and one woman, okay? No more gay marriage. Number 2, sexual relations are properly reserved to such a marriage. You can't have sex with somebody if you're not A, married, and B, straight. Or maybe we should reverse those. And then C, man and woman refer to an individual's immutable biological sex as objectively determined by anatomy and genetics at time of birth. And they're calling this the Marriage Tolerance Act. I mean, it's like, not only are these guys bizarre, but they're pushing this bizarreness under the guise of compassion. I mean, this is nuts. Do you think Mike Pence is a Christian? Is there any context in which, you know, a bigot like Mike Pence, openly, proudly bigoted, can be considered a Christian?